Hello and welcome back to my venture across the United States, where I visit each state and cover some of the urban legends and local mythology present in them. Today we're visiting Illinois, the land of Lincoln. And now I know that the prospect of taking public transit in Chicago can sometimes be a bit scary, but trust me, that's nothing compared to coming face to face with some of the people on this list. So come with me today as we look far beyond the cities and more agrarian communities that you might have heard of in Illinois, and we take a deeper dive into the monsters, haunted mansions, and maybe even vanishing people that lurk in the subtler corners of the state. Number 1 is the McPike Mansion. Now, what is one of these videos without a haunted house? The McPike Mansion is just that in this video, with many claims that spirits roam the property, and even some claiming that the spirits were here before the mansion was even built, attributing this to it possibly being a stop along the Underground Railroad. Regardless, this mansion has many handfuls of spirits attributed to it, and often even has ghost tours for those curious about what they might find inside. By all accounts, even if this property is haunted, it certainly seems like a nice place to live. The mansion has 16 rooms, it has a basement, it has a wine cellar, and it sits on a 15-acre estate. It was built originally in 1869, so it's old now, and like many of the mansions in these videos, is on the National Register of Historic Places. The home originally was owned by the McPike family, hence its namesake, until about 1910, after Henry McPike, the original owner's death. Following this, a man with the last name of Leichinger owned and lived in the house, but died in 1945 himself. Supposedly, Leichinger still resides on the property as a ghost, but we'll get to that. The property was abandoned after his death and succumbed to many of the things that abandoned properties do, stripping it down to a shadow of what it once was until it was purchased by some enterprising individuals in 1994. To fund the renovation of the McPike property, these new owners have been hosting paranormal and historic tours, where they tour all, even the most haunted, of rooms in the home. And now, onto this, we're finally going to get to the ghosts that are supposedly in this mansion. Plenty of folks have witnessed activity in this house. Your run-of-the-mill, light orbs, shadow people, and even full-bodied apparitions are apparently common sights in photos that guests take, which they usually find after the fact. Additionally, there are some ghosts who individualize your experience in the home, we'll say. The aforementioned Leichinger was apparently a heavy smoker, and sometimes guests will smell a lit cigarette. This has been attributed to him. He's also been seen gazing upon homeowners and guests from a window in the home, identified using old photos of him. There's also apparently a girl that smells of lilacs, among some other children who dwell there, which are known to run up and down the halls playing, steal objects, and laugh eerily in the distant corners of the home while you're visiting. Number 2 is the Hull House Devil Baby. Have you ever heard of the famous horror movie Rosemary's Baby? Well, yeah, that all started here in the Hull House. The Hull House was originally a philanthropic endeavor founded in 1889 where new immigrants to the United States could live. This project, among others, that Adams, the homeowner, was involved in, was actually so successful that Jane Addams herself won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1931 for it. Now, the story goes that an unknown woman, presumably an immigrant living in the home, gave birth to a devil baby. This baby was apparently awful, and the midwives wouldn't even hold or go near her. Luckily, the mother at least accepted this baby. Supposedly, the appearance of this child was the result of the father praying for a devil just so long as he could just have a son. Addams herself, though, denied these claims of a cloven-hoofed, pointed-ear, and tailed devil baby, although the rumors of the child spread far and wide that brought visitors from across the country to the home, and supposedly the controversy only took about 6 weeks to die down in reality despite its cult following. Did you think this story was over here, though? No, the Hull House itself is full of history, and as you might expect, therefore it's full of ghosts too. Nowadays, the home is a museum, and workers often claim to hear footsteps throughout the home, or hear their names being uttered, and workers have even claimed to feel the presence of Jane Addams herself in her old bedroom. If you're driving by, I'd also urge you to take a photo. Plenty of folks have checked their cameras, only to find strange figures in the windows of the home after they take a picture of it. Although plenty of people say this is just residue from pesky ghost hunters smearing their faces and fingers against the glass. Classic, right? At number 3, we have Resurrection Mary. Now, was it California when we last saw a legend of a hitchhiking ghost? I'm not really sure. Maybe it was, but regardless, we have another here in the form of Resurrection Mary. This hitchhiking ghost haunts Archer Avenue in Chicago, and her tale is of dubious origin. Some say she's the victim of a hit and run, others say a car crash, but regardless, it supposedly happened after Mary had an argument with her love interest and stormed out of a dance hall. Supposedly, Mary was a beautiful, young, blonde-haired woman in her mid-20s, and if you see her, she'll be wearing what she wore the night of her demise, a white ball gown with fancy, old-timey hairstyles to match. Funny enough, though, you won't run into her on the side of a road, though. Usually you'll find her in a guest hall or a ball, usually on a night where there's dancing involved. Maybe she'll have a good time with you, and she'll ask you for a ride home afterwards, even slipping into the backseat of your car and guiding you to her home. Now, at some point on this ride, you'll end up passing a local cemetery, and suddenly, you'll ask her a question, you'll look into the back seat to see if she's asleep or something when you don't get an answer, and you'll realize that your guest is no longer with you, and that she's slept into the night, or maybe into her grave. At number 4, we have the Enfield Monster. On April 1973, there were reports of a creature lurking around Enfield, Illinois. Skeptics have said this could have been an escaped great ape, or maybe a kangaroo, and experts have all cited this as an episode of collective behavior, where a crowd was induced into a shared hysteria by the suggestion that a monster was on the loose. But others beg to differ. Now, this all started when a man named Harry McDaniel heard scratching at his front door. Thinking it could have been a bear, he did the proper American thing and grabbed a gun to go take a look. What he saw was certainly not a bear. Instead, it was a short, three-legged creature with large eyes, grayish skin tone, and he said the creature looked almost human. So, of course, he shot at the creature. He hit it, and it caused it to run away, and then he called the police. Footprints were discovered near the house, and the police claimed McDaniel was sober after this incident. Supposedly, other neighbors also encountered this creature, though. Just a little while before, a young man claimed that he saw the creature and that it tore his tennis shoe, although the boy later claimed that this report was just meant to prank Mr. McDaniel. A couple of weeks later, supposedly, McDaniel saw the creature again and actually recorded the creature crying. This incident prompted young men from another town to visit Enfield with weapons, who were encountered by police because they apparently saw and shot at the creature. Police, however, said that these young men were basically just drinking and shooting guns, and only brought up the monster to explain their activities away. They were then charged with hunting violations, unsurprisingly. Random fact, too. Apparently, McDaniel swears the creature wasn't a kangaroo because he had a pet kangaroo when he'd previously lived in Australia. Despite this, weirdly enough, there was an Ohio man who had lost a kangaroo the prior year, which actually kind of lends credence to the marsupial theory, but I'd love to hear what you think. At number 5, we have Illinois' 7 Gates to Hell. Now, a small town full of farms and wineries in rural Illinois doesn't really strike fear into you, right? Well, Collinsville, Illinois surprisingly has a bit more in store for you. Back in the 1800s, some bridges were built so that trains could easily pass through what was then a small mining town. These bridges have largely been reclaimed by woods at this point, so they blend in really well with the area, and you'd hardly notice them. But this doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of rumors in the area, because according to urban legends, these bridges have now become gates to hell. Supposedly, this was spurred on by dark things that took place in the woods around these bridges, such as satanic rituals, paranormal happenings, and lynchings that occurred in the woods. Now, the way the gate to hell works isn't so different from earlier urban legends we've covered in this channel. Supposedly, you have to drive through each gate in order from 1 to 7 and enter the final gate right at midnight. And this will open a portal to hell, which hellhounds will come out of and subsequently drag you into. There's also a fun reverse legend, where supposedly if you drive through the gates in reverse, you'll create a tear in reality, and you'll be able to view hell in your rearview mirror. Now personally, I don't really get how a 99 Civic is going to rip through the fibers of reality with only 86 remaining horsepower, but maybe I just don't understand the physics well enough. Regardless, I'd probably be tempted to try the reverse method myself. Now, even ignoring the gates to hell stuff, there's pretty ominous stories surrounding these bridges. Each gate has its own individual folklore, but apparently visitors have seen horrid sights like spirits of people who were hanged off of these bridges and even ghostly cars passing by. Thank you all for coming with me today on this tour of Illinois. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button and give it a like so that I can make more content like this. Also, go ahead and hit that alert button so you're told when my next video drops on the state of Indiana. If nothing else, even if you're driving from Gate 6 to Gate 7 and you find that your rearview mirror is getting awfully bright for 11:59 p.m., don't you ever forget, it's always story time.